Animal Connections, learning to speak the amazing language of animals with your host, André Shirley.
Today we speak to Wynter Worsthorne. Wynter has been communicating with animals since 2000-2001. I did my first course with her in 2005 and never looked back. Wynter offers workshops and insists that it's not a special gift and anyone can do it. It is ancient knowledge that we need to get back. I hope you enjoy this show as much as I did. Well, thanks for doing this.
No, it's a pleasure anytime. I think it's important to get the word out in all ways, in all different ways to all different communities. So it's great that you're doing this.
Okay, so maybe as an intro, could you tell us how you got into it in the first place and your journey?
Okay. Well, gosh, if I look back, it was either 2000 or 2001 when I first read Amelia Kincaid's book, Straight from the Horse's Mouth. I was already sort of on a path to question what I was doing here and my purpose, as so many people do get to that stage. And this book it was an aha moment for me, and I realized that, wow, I'm sort of half doing it already, but I didn't know it was so possible to actually train yourself to be good at this as a skill. And that just led me on a journey with African shamans, and then with Amelia herself, doing a workshop with her, and then realizing, wow, this is real, and this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I've basically never looked back since. I started practicing and, just getting in the practice, because there wasn't any formal sort of training in those days. And Amelia was my mentor, and then, it just took off immediately. It was like I was just meant to do this.
Right. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So Amelia was your first teacher. She's a very outgoing person. It's sort of contrary to what you are. You are more quiet and softly spoken. So it must have been quite an adaptation from her skills.
Well, I suppose we all develop over the years, but she's very Hollywood, and that's where she comes from, and her background is in Hollywood and acting. So it is part of her persona, but she has a very gentle, calm inner self, which comes across maybe not so much in her, her videos or whatever, if you see them now, but that's what drew me to her, was this amazing calmness, as well as this sort of, this sort of mask almost of this Hollywood glitter and glam. So it's an interesting combination.
Yeah.
I couldn't do the Hollywood glitter and glam, though. It didn't really suit me.
Not at all, no. So when you communicate with animals, what's entailed? How do you do that?
So, gosh, it is all about working with your heart and working with unconditional love. And that was the first thing that Amelia taught, was to actually go into that heart space and work with your heart. Still your mind, work with your heart. And the heart is the center of the emotions. But it is also a field of intelligence, which even 20 years ago, people weren't giving it as much attention as they do now. Today, you can actually look at scientific research by the HeartMath Institute to show that when we are working with our intuition, we actually pick it up in our heart field before we pick it up in our brain field or our mental field. So when the animals are communicating or giving off their energy, their feelings, their emotions, we pick that up as they pick it up from us. So every feeling, emotion, thought, experience is kind of, I see it held in the sea of energy that is surrounding us. And when we want to consciously communicate with a specific animal, we are tuning in to their specific energy field. So it's almost like their signature frequency. And the only way we are able to tune in to another being's energy is by working with the energy of unconditional love, because that seems to be the common unified energy of the universe.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
That's great.
So that's how we do it. And the rest is about trusting what you receive and trusting the animals and trusting the process.
And how do you get the message back? Is it different for each person? Say, for instance, visual or sound?
So it is, since I started teaching and working with people, and it's been a long time now as well, I've realized there's not just one way of doing this, of receiving information. And the most common way people receive information is on this sort of emotional field. So it's very easy to pick up. Well, for me, the first thing I actually get is the physical sensations of what that animal is going through. So I can actually feel it in my body. And the emotions sort of come at the same time. So whether it's joy or whether it's acceptance or whether it's, trauma, that kind of shows me a story, and with the feelings, the physical feelings, and then I also get mental images and pictures. And that helps me piece together what the animal is actually saying. I very seldom hear words, but a lot of people do. A lot of people perhaps won't see images, but they will actually hear the animal's voice speaking to them. And I've very seldom, it's happened to me a few times, but it's not like having a conversation. And if people do hear the voice, I don't think it is the same as having a conversation in our human level.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what sort of messages, what do you talk about? Is it just what the human wants you to ask, or is there something that they sometimes tell you despite what the human asks?
Well, it's often, it's always about the human. That's what I've discovered. It's always the human needs to know something about the animals. And often we get, the animals will say what they want the humans to know, what they actually want the humans to know. Right. It's not necessarily what the humans want to know. So that can be a bit tricky sometimes. So it's normally information, depending who you're working with. If you're working with domestic animals in the home, it's very different to working with a wild animal in a sanctuary or even in a reserve. But often it's about what the people are experiencing and how the animals are picking that up and how it can be affecting them. So, often, if I look at missing animals and cats who go missing, which are more, they're the ones that go missing the most out of all our domestic friends. But there's always a reason, and it's normally because there's some kind of discontent in the house. And people say, oh, I'll say, well, have there been any changes in the home recently? And they'll say, oh, no. Yes, but it's nothing that the cat would understand. I've changed my job, or there's the son's left home, or there's a new person moved in, and they don't see that as affecting the animals that they live with, but it does, and even just emotional stress that the person is going through will affect the animals, behavior-wise or, physically even sometimes.
Yeah. And speaking of lost animals, are you quite adept at finding them again for the owners? If they want to be found, do they want to be found? Depends, I suppose.
So with all my experience, and I know, my book, I've written a book about my experience with my dear cat Biggles, who he got out of his carrier at the airport and was missing for 6 weeks. But through all the experience, I find that it's actually a lot more effective not to try and track where the animal is at that moment, but to actually working with heart energy and love to direct the animal back home and to explain what is happening in the home, so if the animal has been upset by something, make sure that the human is rectifying it or explaining what is going on. And the human, the actual person who has the greatest connection with the animal friend, they're the ones that need to send the love and reassurance that everything, that the animal needs to come back and if everything is okay. Obviously, sometimes things happen and the animals have got into an accident, or if they're stuck, then I will get a feeling if that is the case. But it's every time an animal goes missing, there's always a big message for the people. I don't believe anything happens with our animals by accident. It's something telling us, even if it's trauma or tragedy, it's to look at what's really going on underneath it all, and the animals can help us do that.
So the humans must also bring their part, otherwise the animal's just not going to come back home again, right? So the humans need
Well, it helps a lot, yeah.
Okay.
It is so much more effective when the people get involved on a heart level as well, and not just on a trauma, drama, panicky level, it's not easy to do because we get so grief stricken and panicky when our animals go missing, but it's about keeping that calm and center. And we as animal communicators actually have a responsibility to help the people stay in that calm space. And when you're tracking an animal, it's quite different. When the animal's on the move all the time, what you end up with is a whole series of clues that the person has to follow. And that can be even more traumatizing for the person, that they've seen that the animal was there but they're not there anymore. So that's why it's more effective. Ask the animal to stay in one place, or if they can get home, to get home. And to do to find someone who'll do the right thing if they can't get home by themselves. And it's actually about faith and prayer as well as the communication. And it's about transformation and working with positive, all the positive possibilities, and bringing those into the field of reality, basically, instead of just hanging on to the negative dramas of it all.
Okay. And so you said the book is called Where is Biggles? And it'll help anybody find any lost pets.
Well, yes, yeah. It describes my journey, and it describes all the tips you need to do, practical ones as well as the communication. And then it's also full of stories, successful animal communication stories with missing animals.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, it's Where is Biggles. It is available as an ebook on Amazon, and then also as on my Learn site. I've got it as a downloadable PDF, and along with a webinar as well that helps focusing on missing animals.
Okay. So people can go to your website also to learn how to talk to animals. You do it online, I think,
Yes.
and in person?
Yeah, well, with COVID, I stopped doing in-person stuff and I haven't quite started again because actually we can reach so many more people when online. It's actually quite magical. Um, so what I'm doing a lot is I work with the White Line Trust and I lead workshops, well, sort of starline journeys, I call them, and we've turned them into virtual journeys now, and they are so effective, and people are actually really enjoying them. So all those details are on my website as well. And yes, you can also learn from an introduction to animal communication all the way to practitioner as a certified animal communicator professional through my company or organization, Animal Talk Africa.
Okay. That's
So,
Animal Talk Africa
mm,
.co.za. Is that the right website?
that's right. Yes. Thanks, André.
And
Yeah.
speaking of animals, which one do you associate with?
Associate, you mean relate to or
Yes.
resonate with,
Yeah.
or well, lions and cats, definitely. Cats of all sizes. They've always been my sort of guides and my protectors, and in every realm. So it's yeah. But I just love all animals, and there's we can't have favorites, but there are some that we can relate more to or be drawn more to, and there's messages and information in that as well.
Righty-o.
Definitely.
Could you give us an example of some of your work? Maybe about the white lions that you spoke about.
Yes. Well, one of the most incredible story, and it's happened quite a few years ago, was now the White Line Global White Line Protection Trust is a non-profit organization that their aim is to get the balance of the white line genetics back into the wild, and it's very challenging because of hunting and all sorts of things that trophy hunting of lions is still legal and very hard to protect lions in South Africa at this time. But the first stage of the project was the rescue of a mother lion, a white lion, and her 3 cubs, and they were sort of the mom was hand reared, and they were released from captivity and brought into the trust in order to be sort of rewilded. And this was incredibly successful, and National Geographic was doing a documentary on it. And what they needed to really make sure that to show that the white lions have truly been rewilded was to show them in a proper hunting sequence. So, them hunting their prey. And the team had been there, the camera crew had been there for 11 days, and they were due to leave the next day, and they just hadn't got any footage of this. The lions had hunted, but always in the bushes or somewhere out of sight. And I arrived that night, and they said to me, maybe jokingly, they said, maybe Wynter can talk to them and see why they're not hunting and ask them to hunt. So I said, well, let's give it a go. And it was quite incredible because we went out, the camera crew in a separate vehicle, and we were sitting in the vehicle. We came across the 4 lions, and they were really skinny, flat cats. They hadn't eaten for about a week. And I just said to them, this is really important. Will you, do you think you could help and assist and hunt tonight? And they needed permission from Linda, who's the founder, and they wanted to make sure it was definitely the right thing to do. Was this really the right thing to have them exposed on international TV? And Linda had to tell them that how important it was that the public recognizes them, that they are not freaks of nature, that they have conservation value, that they can survive in the wild. And there was a sequence of events. I got the information, yes, that they would hunt, and then I saw a shooting star, which I didn't know what that meant. I saw a shooting star in my mind, even though it was at night and there were stars in the sky. And then, to cut a long story short, they started roaring, and then, they got up and walked off. Then they started roaring, and we thought, oh dear, a roaring lion is not a hunting lion, because all the prey in the area knows where they are. So we thought, wow, that's strange. Oh well, let's just see. And then 10 minutes later, I saw in the sky, we all saw a shooting star. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, And then suddenly the camera crew said, oh, radio silence, radio silence. They're hunting. And it took 3 attempts. They were actually hunting, digging out a warthog. And it took 3 attempts for the camera crew to get it right. And the lions basically pulled out 3 warthogs to assist the camera crew in, waiting for the right time, so they actually got the correct footage. And if you see the National Geographic, The Return of the White Lion, you will see that image of them all sort of looking at the camera, even the warthog looking at the camera, before, as if saying, ready, action, and then the hunt very quickly taking place. So it was incredible. And that cameraman has gone, it changed his life. He went on a quest to learn about this, and he now does the most incredible wildlife work, working with animal communication. And absolute respect for what animals need.
So he trained himself, or he trained to communicate after this. Wonderful.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's, things like that are epic moments. And I love sharing that story because it just shows how conscious nature is, and how they will work with us when we are in service of nature. They will really oblige. It is quite incredible to see how nature and animals will work with us when we're on the right path, and it serves them as well as us.
Yeah.
So
it's profound. Yeah, very good. So the white lions are in Mpumalanga area, correct?
Yeah, so it's on the actual trust is situated in the Greater Timbavati region, which is the only place in the world that white lions are found in nature, in their endemic homeland. And that's sort of Limpopo, on the borders of Limpopo and Mpumalanga. The borders seem to shift every now and again, so you're never quite sure which province you're actually landing in. But yes, that's where the trust headquarters are situated, and there's the lions are doing so well. We still have to just get rid of these dreadful trophy hunting concepts for them to be truly safe in the wild.
So Heart Pride?
Yes.
Tell us more about Heart Pride.
I think my work has evolved from pure animal communication to working with interspecies communication in order to be of service to nature and the whole. So I created this HEART method, which is heart energy achieving real transformation. And that is working with our heart to connect and communicate with nature as a whole. And whether that's a tree or a butterfly or a lion, it's receiving guidance of what nature needs from us at this time. So I started doing these workshops, and the first real one was a virtual journey to the Star Lines, in support of the White Line Trust. And from that journey of 20 people, we decided we wanted to create this work and, sort of expand it. So we created a pride so we can start focusing on this work together. And then that pride expanded to the next virtual journey and then the next virtual journey. And eventually I decided that, this could be as big as, we don't have to limit this. And so I created the Heart Pride membership site, which you can, if you are interested, you pay a small fee to join, and that goes to the Global White Line Protection Trust. And we do this heart work together, and you get updates from the trust, but we do heart gatherings where we can start working with nature on whatever issue is prevalent or comes into our sort of consciousness at the time. And then we can do this hard work together. And it's been beautifully effective, focusing really on the White Lions and their message and what the trust has been needing over the last few years. And it is incredible, the transformations that have taken place. Right. And from physical things on the ground to government policies, so we're working on so many different levels with this.
Okay. Is it, I'm assuming it's not just South African based, but anyone can join? Any sort of problems in any
We've got,
area?
Yeah? Yes, absolutely. So it's an international pride of people, and we work with animals from all over or issues from all over, so whatever anybody wants to work with. And we work globally. So it's a special platform to be involved with. Okay. I feel anyway.
Yes.
And it does make a difference. Yeah.
Sounds like the world needs this right now. Yeah.
I think the more of us working with our heart and working with nature, the better at this stage. Definitely.
I've sort of run out of my questions. Is there anything that you would like to talk to us about as well, bring to our attention?
So I think really a lot of people think that animal communication is a gift, the special gift, and only special people are able to communicate with the animals. But really it is a birthright. It is our birthright. It's something that we've just forgotten how to do. It's been kind of beaten out of us and taught. We've, as growing up, or certainly from my generation, it was never encouraged to be sort of more intuitive, and we always had to think before we did anything rather than just follow our hearts. And animal communication is really just a remembering of ancient knowledge, ancient skills, and this is how we communicated with each other before the spoken word was developed. And it really is, it's a skill that anybody can love for animals and nature. And anyone listening to this, I know you've all got that love, and you're halfway there already. So be brave, and it's a brave new world. It really is. We need people to start working in this way. It's the only way forward as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how else we're actually going to adapt to the way the world is going. So go and investigate what's possible. Go and investigate who, there's so many different teachers online now, and see who you resonate with, and just stay in and start doing this, start practicing. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's the most important thing I wanted to say. Yeah.
So just jump in, boots and all, as quickly as possible.
Yes, absolutely. We're running out of time. I remember Amelia saying that to me when I people were asking me to teach, and I felt I wasn't ready to teach.
Right.
And she said, "Just go for it. We're running out of time. As many people as possible need to know how to do this." So, it's really we need to share this, and we can all do it.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Wynter. It was really a pleasure talking to you again. And I'll put all your
Yes, it's
details.
lovely to see you.
I'll put your details at the bottom of the video clip. And thanks
Okay.
again for doing this with us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, André, for inviting me. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to Animal Connections with host André Shirley. To connect with André or to check out our other shows, head to lifesource.global. And don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons. This show is brought to you by Sourcelight Productions.